There's a moment, right before a first kiss, where time does something strange. The conversation trails off. Two people lean in, hearts pounding. And then they do the single most bizarre thing two human beings can do to each other. They press the soft, wet holes in the middle of their faces together, and they mash them around a little. Maybe they add some tongue. They swap a bit of saliva, a few hundred species of bacteria, and the lingering molecules of whatever the other person had for lunch. And somehow, instead of being horrified, both people pull back, slightly dizzy, and think, that was the most romantic thing that has ever happened to me. Stop and actually picture what a kiss is, mechanically, for 1 second. You are mashing your face hole against someone else's face hole and exchanging fluids. Described that way, it sounds less like romance and more like a minor medical incident. And yet billions of us do it. We chase it. We write songs about it. We build entire movies around the will they, won't they tension of two people eventually doing it. We have collectively decided, as a species, that smushing our faces together is the peak expression of love. Why? Where did this come from? Why does a behavior that is objectively a little bit gross feel so completely incredible? And here is the part that is going to sit in the back of your mind for the rest of this video. There is a very good chance that kissing is not natural at all. That a huge chunk of humanity has looked at it, recoiled, and said, absolutely not, that's revolting. This is the strange, slightly embarrassing, surprisingly ancient story of why we kiss. And it begins by taking the one thing you were most sure about and tearing it down completely. Here's what almost everyone assumes. Kissing is universal. It's instinct. It's the natural, hardwired, obvious way that humans show affection. The same everywhere, in every culture, throughout all of history. It feels so basic, so built in, that it seems impossible anyone could not do it. So when researchers actually went looking for proof of this, they expected to find kissing everywhere. Instead, they found something that genuinely embarrassed a lot of Western scientists. In 2015, a team of anthropologists led by William Jankowiak did the obvious thing nobody had bothered to do properly. They surveyed the romantic kissing habits of 168 cultures around the world. And the result was a slap in the face to everyone who assumed kissing was human nature. Romantic lip-to-lip kissing showed up in only 46% of cultures. Less than half. The other 54%? No evidence of it at all. Not rare, not occasional, just absent. The thing you think is the most natural expression of love on Earth is something the majority of human cultures never developed. And it gets better, because some cultures didn't just skip kissing, they found it disgusting. When the Thonga people of southern Africa first watched Europeans kissing in the late 1800s, they were repulsed. Their reaction was essentially, look at these people eating each other's saliva and dirt. The Trobriand Islanders reportedly considered it an insipid, slightly silly little habit. And the Mehinaku people of the Amazon had their own form of intimacy, but it was not kissing. It was gently biting each other's eyebrows. Which, honestly, when you compare it side by side with swapping spit, starts to sound like a reasonable lifestyle choice. So here is the first crack in the story. If kissing were pure instinct, hardwired into the human animal, it would show up everywhere, the way smiling does, the way laughing does. It doesn't. Which means kissing is not a simple biological reflex. It's something stranger. Something that some humans invented, fell in love with, and spread, while others looked at it and said, no thank you. But that raises an even bigger question. If it's not universal instinct, then why do those of us who do it find it so intoxicating? Why does it feel like instinct, even if it technically isn't? To answer that, we have to go back, way back, before language, before cities, before humans were even fully human. We have to figure out where the kiss actually came from. And the leading theory is going to ruin a few first dates for you. Theory number 1 is the one that makes people physically cringe, and it's called kiss feeding. For most of human history, there were no blenders, no baby food, no little jars of mushed peas. So when a baby was too young to chew solid food, the mother had a solution that was elegant, practical, and from a modern perspective, deeply upsetting. She chewed the food herself and then passed it, mouth to mouth, directly into the baby's mouth. Pre-chewed, pre-softened, delivered with a kiss. Birds do it, many primates do it, and humans did it for a very, very long time, across cultures all over the planet. Now think about what that does to a developing brain. For an infant, that mouth-to-mouth contact is paired with the most powerful reward there is: food, warmth, safety, the presence of the person who keeps you alive. The pressing together of lips becomes wired into the brain as comfort, as love, as I am safe and I am cared for. And the theory goes that as we grew up and food sharing became less necessary, the gesture stayed, the lips remembered. The mouth-to-mouth press detached from feeding and floated free, becoming a pure signal of affection. The romantic kiss, in this telling, is a fossil. It's the leftover ghost of your mother feeding you like a baby bird. Which is a lovely thought to hold in your head the next time you're making out with someone. But kiss feeding isn't the only suspect, and the second theory is, in some ways, even more revealing, because it suggests that the original kiss wasn't about lips at all. It was about smell. In a huge number of cultures, the affectionate gesture isn't pressing lips, it's pressing noses and inhaling. The Inuit have the kunnik, where you press your nose and upper lip against someone's skin and breathe them in. The Maori have the hongi, the pressing of noses. Across the Pacific, across parts of Asia and Africa, the kiss was historically a sniff. You greeted someone you loved by smelling them. And once you know that, the modern kiss starts to look like an upgrade to something far more ancient. Because smell is one of the oldest, most primal senses we have, wired directly into the parts of the brain that handle emotion and memory. When you press your face against someone and breathe them in, you are gathering an enormous amount of unconscious information. Their scent carries data about their health, their diet, their hormones, even their immune system. Long before we had words, we had noses. And the theory is that the modern lip kiss is just a sniff that crept closer and closer to the mouth, until our ancestors were no longer just smelling each other, they were tasting each other. The kiss as we know it might literally be a sniff that went too far. Which brings us to the third and most cold-blooded theory of all. Because some researchers argue that a kiss is not romantic at all. It's an interview, a biological background check run in real time, by a brain that is secretly far more calculating than you'd like to admit. When you kiss someone, your face is pressed against theirs at a distance of 0. Your senses are flooded, and without your permission, some ancient subroutine in your brain starts gathering intelligence. The taste of their saliva, the smell of their skin, the subtle chemical signals their body is broadcasting. Researchers have proposed that this close-range data dump lets us unconsciously assess a potential partner's genetic compatibility, their hormone levels, their general health. There's even evidence that we're drawn to partners whose immune systems differ from our own, because mixing different immune genes tends to produce healthier children. And you can pick up hints of that, faintly, in another person's scent and taste. In other words, that magical, swooning first kiss might partly be your DNA running a quality control test. A huge number of people report that a bad first kiss ended a budding relationship on the spot, that something just felt off, even if they couldn't explain why. That's not pickiness. That might be a few 100,000 years of evolution whispering, the data came back, and it's a no. The kiss isn't just a question of, do I like you? Underneath, it's asking, are you a good genetic bet, and should we, biologically speaking, combine forces? Romantic, right? But the kiss does something else, too. And this is where it stops being purely calculating and starts being something warmer. Your lips are extraordinary. They are one of the most densely nerve-packed regions of your entire body. In the map of the brain that represents the body's sense of touch, the lips take up a wildly disproportionate amount of space, far more than their actual size would suggest. They are, in a very real sense, built to feel. So when two sets of these hypersensitive instruments meet, the brain lights up. It releases dopamine, the chemical of reward and craving, the same one tied to everything we find pleasurable and want more of. It releases oxytocin, the bonding chemical, the one that makes you feel attached and safe and connected. And it lowers cortisol, the stress hormone. A good kiss is, neurologically, a tiny chemical bath of pleasure, attachment, and calm, all delivered at once. No wonder it's addictive. You're not kissing someone, you're dosing yourself. And here's something almost no one stops to find strange. Nobody ever teaches you how to do it. There is no class, no instruction manual, no diagram in school. One day you're a kid who thinks kissing is gross, and then somewhere along the way you're expected to just know how, in the dark, under pressure, with another nervous human, on the first try. It's one of the most intimate physical acts we perform, and we learn it entirely through fumbling, guesswork, and the occasional accidental clash of teeth that nobody ever speaks of again. And yet, weirdly, our bodies seem to come preloaded with some of the instructions. Studies have found that around 2/3 of people instinctively tilt their heads to the right when they lean in to kiss. To the right. The majority of humanity, without ever discussing it, agreeing on a direction. Researchers think this preference may trace all the way back to how we were positioned in the womb, or to which way our mothers cradled us as infants. A tiny, invisible bias, written into you before you were even born, quietly steering every kiss you've ever had. And the sheer variety of what humans count as a kiss is its own kind of beautiful chaos. There's the polite peck on the cheek, the aggressive double-cheek European greeting that always ends in confusion about which side comes first. The nose rub, the forehead kiss, which somehow feels more tender than anything involving lips. The blown kiss thrown across a room. We took one simple gesture and spun off an entire grammar of affection from it, each version carrying a slightly different message, all understood instantly, none of them ever explained out loud. We are fluent in a language we were never formally taught. Now, here's where we have to widen the lens, because if you think the kiss began with humans, you're already wrong. We are not the only animals who do this. Our closest relatives, chimpanzees and bonobos, kiss. And bonobos in particular kiss the way teenagers do, with open mouths and tongues, enthusiastically and often. But here's the fascinating part. When chimpanzees kiss, it is frequently not romantic at all. It's reconciliation. After a fight, after tension splits the group, chimps will seek each other out and kiss to make peace, to rebuild trust, to say, without words, we're okay again. Let that reframe everything for you. The kiss may not have begun as a tool of romance. It may have begun as a tool of trust. A way for social animals who depended on each other to survive to repair their bonds and signal safety. To put your face that close to another creature's mouth, full of teeth, is to make yourself completely vulnerable. It says, I trust you not to hurt me. And maybe that's the real ancient root of it. Not love in the romantic sense, but trust in the survival sense. The kiss as a peace treaty between two animals who need each other. So when does the human kiss actually show up in the record? For the longest time, scholars believe the earliest evidence came from ancient texts in South Asia, dating back about 3,500 years. But in 2023, two researchers reading much older clay tablets pushed that date back dramatically. Examining cuneiform writing from ancient Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, they found references to kissing as a normal part of romantic and family life as far back as 4,500 years ago. People in the world's first cities were already kissing their lovers and their children, and writing about it like it was nothing special, because to them, it wasn't. One Mesopotamian tablet, written nearly 4,000 years ago, contains a line of love poetry so tender it could have been written yesterday. The writer describes their lip trembling, their mouth going moist, and the longing to embrace and kiss their beloved. 4,000 years ago. A human being pressing soft clay with a reed, trying to capture the exact feeling of wanting to kiss someone. The cities have crumbled, the language is dead, but that feeling, that specific ache, survived perfectly intact, and you have felt the exact same thing. But here's the catch, and it's a big one. Writing only goes back about 5,000 years. The kiss is clearly far, far older than that, because writing only captures the very last sliver of our story. The behavior itself, the impulse, almost certainly stretches back tens of thousands of years, maybe far longer, into a past with no records at all. A kiss leaves nothing behind. It doesn't fossilize, it doesn't survive in stone. So the honest truth is that we will never know the date of the first kiss, the first time two humans pressed their lips together and felt that jolt of something. It happened in the dark of prehistory, and it left no trace, except in us. Now, before this gets too romantic, let's talk about the part nobody likes to think about while making out. Kissing is, biochemically, an act of mass microbial transfer. In a single 10-second kiss, two people exchange around 80 million bacteria. 80 million. You are not just kissing a person. You are merging entire microscopic ecosystems. Somewhere in that 10-second exchange, two completely separate worlds of microbes meet, mingle, and decide to cohabit, like a tiny, slimy biological marriage happening on a scale you'll thankfully never witness. And historically, that came with consequences. Kissing helped spread disease. The herpes virus that causes cold sores rode along on the human kiss for thousands of years. Mononucleosis is so reliably transmitted this way that we literally nicknamed it the kissing disease. Every romantic kiss in human history has also been a tiny biological gamble. We just decided, overwhelmingly, that the gamble was worth it. So why did this strange, risky, not even universal behavior spread across so much of the planet? A lot of it is culture. Romantic kissing turns out to be far more common in complex, stratified societies than in egalitarian hunter-gatherer ones. And in the last century especially, Western movies, music, and media exported the passionate Hollywood kiss to every corner of the globe, until a behavior that more than half of cultures once found strange became the worldwide shorthand for love. The kiss conquered the world not because it was instinct, but because the story we told about it was irresistible. We turned a sniff, or a feeding gesture, or a chimpanzee peace offering into the single most iconic image of human romance. And maybe that's the most human thing of all. We took something ancient and biological, something rooted in feeding and smelling and trust and survival, and we draped it in meaning. We made it the climax of every love story. We wrapped an entire emotional universe around two faces touching. No other animal does that. A bonobo kisses to make peace. A chimp kisses to rebuild trust. A mother bird feeds her chick. But only humans take that raw, biological gesture and turn it into poetry, into ceremony, into the thing you remember for the rest of your life about a person who is now long gone. Think about that for a second. When you kiss someone, you are not just doing a thing your body wants. You are performing a ritual older than every city, every language, every religion you've ever heard of. You're doing what an ape did to make peace, what a mother did to keep her baby alive, what a Mesopotamian lover did beside a clay tablet 4,000 years ago, what your own ancestors did, around fires, in the dark, with no idea why it felt so good, only that it did. A wordless little ceremony passed down an unbroken chain of human beings, each of whom leaned in, hearts pounding, and pressed their face against someone they hoped they could trust. So no, kissing isn't universal. It isn't pure instinct. More than half the world got along fine without it. By every cold, rational measure, it's a slightly gross, faintly absurd exchange of saliva and bacteria. But for those of us who do it, it might be one of the most quietly profound things we ever do. Because every kiss is a tiny, ancient question, asked without a single word. Do I trust you? Are you safe? Are you mine? And every time someone kisses you back, the answer, for just a moment, is yes. The cities will crumble. The languages will die. But that question and that answer will outlive all of it. They have for tens of thousands of years. And the next time you lean in, slightly dizzy, you'll be asking it too.